Hello everyone, welcome to Kerbal Space Program. I'm SkidKidd and I'm going to be bringing you a Let's Play series on Kerbal Space Program. It's a great game, guys. You got to try it. Be patient. There's a lot of trial and error involved, but it's well worth the time and effort involved. So here we are at the Kerbal Space Center. On your left, you have a hangar for specifically making planes, various types of aircraft. In the center, you have your main hangar. That's where you build your rockets, your pods, your probes, and obviously at the end you have the launch pad there. You follow that little road, and underneath the launch pad you have a comm center where you can pick up on flights in progress. So here we are with a basic probe. I'm going to, well, the reason I've become so intrigued with the probe is I read in the forums that you can actually use a probe as a lifeboat. So let's say, for example, you launch your Kerbals to the moon. They can't get back. You run out of fuel. This has happened to me time after time. It's inevitable. Trial and error. You got to figure it out. Anyway, they're stuck on the moon. I can use a probe to build an unmanned vessel to get to the moon to retrieve my Kerbals. Not exactly what I'm going to do today. I mean, I'm just building a probe for the sake of building a probe. It's cool. It's unmanned. I want to try it out. I want to see what it does. You know, what it can do, how it works. But here we are. I just attached a xenon container, which contains xenon fuel, gas. I don't actually know what the compound is, element, whatever you want to call it. And that is the ionic electric propulsion system, which is probably the whole main reason I wanted to build this. I was pretty excited to hear about the ion electronic propulsion system. I like just saying it, ion electric propulsion system. It's not your normal run-of-the-mill rocket, you know, blowing up, exploding, yada yada yada. I just attached a battery there. You gotta have batteries, guys. When I first launched this thing, I forgot batteries, and it kept dying. I didn't even get to finish making an orbit around the planet, and my vessel kept dying, and I couldn't figure out why. But I sped things up here. I don't want to bore you guys with my construction, but I've attached some batteries, solar arrays, communication dishes, whatever you want to call it. Most of this stuff right now is really just, you know, for aesthetics, but some of the stuff does actually serve a purpose. For example, the rechargeable batteries and the solar arrays. But so I basically have my my probe, or the foundation of my probe right now. So I'm going to get to building a rocket to launch the probe, which can be a bit of a hassle. But like I said, be patient. There's a lot of trial and error involved. Thrust to weight ratio, all this stuff comes into play. I mean, I've built behemoths and they've gotten nowhere because they're just so darn heavy. So sometimes the more rockets you pack on isn't really better. Sometimes just being simple is really all you need to do, and that's pretty much what I'm gonna do here. I'll speed it up again. I don't want to kill you guys with the construction boredom. I just want to try to, you know, spark your interest. Maybe you'll want to give it a shot. Oh, there's a great example of the symmetry. If you'll notice in the bottom left, there's what looks like 6 slices of pizzas. You can actually divide your components and parts into however many pieces you want, and to the right of that little circle is another circle. You click on that and it'll make things fit symmetrically to your rockets, which I think was a brilliant addition to this game. It makes things a lot more pleasant, a lot easier, and the main reason I sped things up is because I will take forever trying to, you know, basically make things perfect. But that's just me. I'm really particular in building my goods. But here's the final product. As you saw, I just showed off the probe and what it finally looked like, and it came out really well. I'm really happy with it. So we're gonna go ahead here and get ready for the launch. It didn't wobble when your rocket loads at the launch and it wobbles. You're probably in for some big surprises, but it didn't wobble here. So there we go, liftoff. Looking clean too. see if we get another camera shot here for you guys. A little different angle. There she is. She's beautiful. I'm proud. Alright, so once I reach about 12,000 meters, I'm gonna make my first gravity turn. But before that, let's explain. On the left side, you'll see all these little icons. That's your firing order, basically. That's how things work, in what order they work. As you can see, I just jettisoned my rockets, and they disappeared from the icons. But you also have indicators such as overheating, as well as your fuel meter, but it'll let you know if you're really pushing your rocket to the limit. But let's bring up my nav ball and resources here so we can get a good idea as to what's going on. Now I'm approaching 12,000. I'm going to make my first gravity turn. Man, I'm burning through that fuel. But that's alright. I have enough to get me there, and I have enough to help me spread out my orbit, so... Alright, I skipped ahead. I didn't want to bore you with the launch, but you pretty much saw the gist of it. Gravity turns, gaining altitude, and... jettison. There we go. And I am now in space. That's what the music's all about. It's an indicator that you've made it. Alright, so just right now I'm trying to open up my orbit. It takes a second or two, but like I said, I'm a little particular with stuff like this. I get funny with my orbits and whatnot. I like things to be perfect. Or at least what I think is perfect, but... Alright, so I pretty much have my orbit. I'm just gonna show off my rocket. She's real sexy. I'm real proud of it. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to really open up all the bells and whistles and get a good look at her. Beautiful. Alright, the blue orbit, that's my current orbit. Don't mind the gray one. That's just another project, actually a space station. I'm working on docking. I'll save that for another video. But the blue orbit right now is what we're working with. Now you can see the indicators. There's little markers on the orbit itself. There's one at the bottom. There's one at the top. The one at the bottom, that's your periapsis. That is the lowest point in your orbit. The one on the opposite side is your apoapsis. That's the highest point in your orbit. You're gonna have to do a little research, and you're definitely gonna have to do the training program in this game. It helps a ton. You know, you don't want to just jump in it and try flying it, because you're gonna be completely clueless, totally lost, and you're gonna frustrate yourself. But actually, you can warp time. You can speed things up, which is a lifesaver, because you'd be here for days, literally. Alright, so I'm at my apoapsis. I'm going to thrust a little bit on there just to bring out the periapsis, so I can really, just so I can speed things up. If your orbit is below a certain point, you can't actually warp to specific speeds. The bigger your orbit, the faster you can warp. So I'm gonna do that real quick so I can speed things along here. I'm not gonna get too much into the orbit, because that's something you guys should really do on your own. And this isn't a tutorial. This is more or less just me trying to put a rocket in space. A probe, excuse me. Beautiful. God, I'm in love with it. Alright, so I've got my orbit spread out far enough to the moon as to where, as you can see the orange. That's going to be my intersect point. That's where I'm going to intersect with the moon's orbit. So that's our goal right now. I'm going to speed things up because it would take a while. So here I am. I've made it to the intersect point, and I'm at my periapsis. And as you see, I've turned what's called prograde. That little yellow indicator on the nav ball, that's your prograde vector. Excuse me, retrograde. I'm burning retrograde right now, and as you can see, as I burn retrograde, the orbit is slowly bending towards the moon. And eventually, I'll have an orbit around the moon. So I can get in nice and close and launch my probe. And there we have it. Orbit. Beautiful. So I'm gonna decrease my orbit. I'm gonna speed things up here. And I'm gonna decrease my orbit. get my probe good and close, and then I'll break her away from the her little rocket, and we'll see what she can do. And you're going to be doing a lot of flying in the map. Don't let that deter you from the game. I mean, it's really preference, but I mean, in some cases like this, it's necessary. You are going to have to watch your orbits and whatnot, but it's what it is. So here I am approaching my periapsis, and I'm gonna burn retrograde on that, and I'm gonna lower my apoapsis. Oh yeah, here's a great example of my of a maneuver node. As you just saw, I added a maneuver and I pulled on the retrograde. See that little lever I'm pulling on? That is the retrograde control vector. The other one on the opposite side that's yellow, that's the prograde vector. The purple triangle on the, above it is normal. The bottom one is anti-normal. The circle on top is the anti-radial. I think that's, I can't really see, that's blue, yeah. And the bottom one, the bottom blue circle is radial. All these things have their purpose. Some of them adjust the orbital inclination, and others, as you see right now, adjust your orbit. So like right now I'm just setting up a point where I'm gonna burn and decrease my orbit. So it's basically it's like a waypoint, I guess. All right, now I'm approaching my maneuver node, and when I reach it, I'm gonna increase my thrust here. I've reached my orbit. Now it's time to launch my probe. Okay, time to open up all the bells and whistles here, guys. Oh, wow. That's cool. See, it's silly. It might be silly to you guys, but that's so satisfying. Oh, jettison that. And, oh, there she is. There's the ion electric propulsion system. Oh, cool. I love it. Beautiful. Success. I've done it. I've launched my first moon probe, or probe in general. Just so happened to be to the moon. And, yeah. Thanks for joining me, guys. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm going to do my best to try to bring you some more videos. I think maybe next we'll try a moon landing. Sound good to you? Sounds good to me. Thanks for joining me, guys. See you next time.
Stay tuned